Rust issues, starter motor issues. I don't know whether it runs, so it boils down to numbers. Mum and Dad have dropped by to see how the work on the farmhouse is going.
Ant Anstead was once a golden face on television, loved by millions of fans on the show Wheeler Dealers. But behind the glittering spotlight was an unexpected downfall. In just a few short years, he lost both his career and his family. He got divorced, separated from his children, got into intense legal battles, and went bankrupt. Before one event was over, another shock came. It all came crashing down like a storm, sweeping away everything he had. This is not a movie script. This is real life and the dark side that people rarely talk about. Ant, a man who once walked in the spotlight, had to grope through the darkest days of his life. His story is not meant to be pitied, but rather to remind us that even those who seem invincible sometimes fall, and sometimes that is the truest part of being human. Ant Anstead married Christina Hall at the height of his American television career. They married in late 2018, becoming a prominent media couple, especially when they appeared together on HGTV series Christina on the Coast. In the show, Christina said, "Incredible. I feel like it's the star of the show down there." Ant replied, "Really?" To which Christina responded, "I'm excited. Oh my gosh, Christina. It's so good." When baby Hudson was born in September 2019, many believed it was a symbol of a beautiful bond between the two TV stars. But the spotlight lasted less than 2 years. In September 2020, Christina suddenly announced her divorce. Ant was completely passive. He made no secret of it, stating, "I was not the one who initiated the end." For him, this was more than just a breakup. It was the beginning of the longest and most intense crisis of his life. After the divorce, Ant lost nearly 11 kilos in just a few weeks. He attended therapy and enrolled in a recovery program after a broken relationship. On social media, Ant did not shy away from the pain. He shared statuses filled with loneliness and loss when the house that was once full of laughter was now all he had left. The tension was even heavier when Christina soon went public with her new relationship, and Ant was not ready to face the role of a single father in the public eye. But that was not the end of the tragedy. In April 2022, Ant unexpectedly filed a petition for full custody of Hudson. In the petition, he accused Christina of being irresponsible in taking care of the child, letting the child get severely sunburned, not reporting that the child had come into contact with someone infected with COVID-19, and especially using Hudson's image for personal promotion on social media and television. For Ant, his son was not a money-making tool. Christina responded harshly, pointing out that Ant himself had used Hudson's image to promote his car brand, Radford Motors. The controversy immediately erupted on social media. Fans were divided into two distinct camps, one supporting Ant for fighting for his child's privacy, the other criticizing him for being hypocritical. Both posts quickly became a battleground of public opinion, forcing them to lock or limit their accounts at the most tense moments. Ant's situation culminated in a comparison to the tragic death of Kylie Posey, the teenage star of Toddlers and Tiaras, who committed suicide as a teenager. Ant used the example to warn about the consequences of exploiting children in the media. For many, the comparison was extreme, but for others, it was a wake-up call, and the reality TV industry began to confront its long-hidden dark side. After a tense 12-hour court hearing, Ant and Christina reached a settlement in November 2022, shared custody of Hudson. They both have legal and physical custody with some modifications from the 2021 agreement. Soon after, Christina announced that she would stop posting photos of Hudson online, a move aimed at calming the public and protecting her child from the media whirlpool. This period of crisis was also the main reason why Ant left Wheeler Dealers at the end of 2022. When the show moved production from the US to the UK, he refused to join the cast. In an official statement, Ant made it clear he chose to stay in California because of Hudson. He shared, "I'm proud of what we've done with the show, but being a father is the most important job I have." After leaving television, Ant devoted all his energy and assets to a project he called the pinnacle of his mechanical passion, reviving Radford Motors, the British car brand that was famous in the 1960s. Together with car designer Mark Stubbs and F1 driver Jenson Button, he launched the Lotus Radford Type 622, a super light handcrafted coupe. Classic in style, but with modern technology aimed at global collectors. It was more than just a car. It was a work of art, a milestone marking the return of a man who had once thought he had completely collapsed. Radford Motors is more than just a startup. For Ant Anstead, it's a manifesto for rebirth. The Discovery Channel even dedicated a reality show, Radford Returns, to document the entire journey from the three founders' initial foray into reviving a nearly forgotten brand to designing and building the first car from scratch. The atmosphere of the project has a carefully choreographed comeback feel to it, from the lavish launches and the inspiring interviews to what Ant calls the biggest gamble of my life. And as with any big gamble, not everyone wins. Cracks began to appear in 2023. Some customers took to social media to complain that they had not received their cars, even with having placed deposits long ago. Asian dealers quietly cancelled orders. Some inside investors grew suspicious as more money poured in and the products remained unfinished. Although Ant repeatedly reassured its followers with pictures of car parts being completed, investors saw something amiss in its financial reports. In March 2024, a shareholder filed a lawsuit against Ant Anstead and Mark Stubbs, accusing them of contract fraud and defaulting on a $2 million debt. Court records revealed irregularities in the books along with the fact that much of the capital had been spent without any finished product being delivered on schedule. Ant said he was only in charge of engineering and communications, not finance, but his name still appeared in the lawsuit and that made his previous silence suddenly suspicious. By October 2024, Radford Motors had officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a form of desperate corporate restructuring. The company admitted it could not meet its delivery commitments and was facing lawsuits from partners and customers. Ant remained defiant, stating, "We are not giving up. This is a challenge, but also an opportunity to start over." On social media, he continued to post photos of his workshop, blueprints, and vehicle details as if trying to keep his passion alive at all costs. But by May 2025, that hope was officially over. Radford Motors moved from Chapter 11 to Chapter 7, which meant no more restructuring, but liquidation and closure. European suppliers confirmed they had not received payments. Previously completed Lotus Radford Type 622s were held in storage amid legal disputes. The project in which Ant had invested all his faith, effort, and reputation collapsed after just one season of reporting losses. The personal impact on Ant Anstead is undeniable. This is not just a business failure. It is the collapse of the image he has worked so hard to build since leaving television. Radford Motors was his answer to the question, "Who am I after wheeler dealers?" Now there is no answer. What he worked so hard to build, the brand, the reputation, the mechanical dream, was swept away in a few chaotic months. From an armed police officer to a TV presenter to a passionate mechanic businessman, Ant Anstead has always been willing to change to be true to his true self. But after this fall, the question is no longer, do you have enough passion, but is passion enough to save you again? From the battle line to the factory. Before he became a familiar face on television as a car expert, Ant Anstead was a completely different person, an armed police officer. At the age of 20, he joined the Hertfordshire Police Force and was quickly promoted to the Tactical Response Team, a unit that handles life-or-death situations such as hostage rescues and the pursuit of armed criminals. By the age of 23, Ant was taking on the most dangerous criminals with a gun, twice receiving a medal for bravery. Those years left him with more than just steely fortitude and quick reflexes. They also left psychological scars. He witnessed tragic scenes, the pain of victims and moments when a small mistake could mean life. Later when he stood in front of the camera, Ant once said, "After what I went through with the armed forces, being on camera was nothing." It is that calmness that creates the natural calm and confident demeanor that the audience feels every time he appears on screen. But his stable police career had always had a bigger passion, cars. As a teenager, he took apart his first car just to understand how it worked and sell it for a profit. What fascinated him was not just the speed, but the feeling of reviving a seemingly useless machine, mastering every mechanical detail with his own hands. At 26, Ant quit the police force, an unexpected turn of events. He had no workshop, no capital, no backing. He found an abandoned cow shed and in exchange for a year of free renovations, he could use it as a workplace. There he started from scratch, restoring cars himself, entertaining customers, transporting them, filming videos, and posting them online to find a market. He used money from his semi-professional football career, he played more than 700 games in the Ryman League, to finance his first cars. From 2005 to 2014, Ant steadily built his reputation in the UK's bespoke car restoration industry. No big promotions, no gimmicks. Customers came to him for his meticulous technique and seriousness in each project. His name gradually spread among collectors, catching the eye of television producers looking for a real character, knowledgeable about the profession, capable of leading a story, and not just living on images. His big break came in 2014 when Ant was invited to host For the Love of Cars alongside actor Philip Glenister on Channel 4. He wasn't just an on-screen mechanic. He was a full-time restorer of everything from a Mini Cooper to an Aston Martin DB6, taking viewers through the chassis structure to the final coat of paint. The positive response from viewers made him the new face of British motoring television. Success after success, building Cars Live with James May and Kate Humble, emceeing at major car events nationwide. All stemmed from a bold decision in 2005 from a dilapidated stable with no money, no security. Ant Anstead rebuilt his entire life with his hands, with passion, and with a will that refused to surrender to fate. Perhaps it was those years of standing on the front lines facing life and death that taught Ant a simple but core truth. If you survive the worst, you can rebuild everything. And that is why he is not just a car expert, but a rare symbol, a combination of technical prowess and human spirit. The price of the glory. Ant Anstead's on-screen success didn't come by trickery. After For the Love of Cars, his reputation spread throughout the classic car enthusiast community. When Ant China left Wheeler Dealers in 2017 after more than a decade, the producers faced a difficult task, finding someone with both real skill and storytelling ability, someone who could replace the legend without destroying the show's soul. They chose Ant. Replacing an icon is never an easy role. Ant China is more than just a technical expert, he is the soul of Wheeler Dealers. When Ant appeared alongside Mike Brewer in the new season, which was filmed in the US, there was an immediate backlash. Viewers scrutinized his every move, every word he said, and the way he wiped his hands after fixing a car. Ant didn't react publicly, but in a 2019 interview, he was candid, "I know I have to prove myself every day." And he did. In 3 years, Ant helped the show not only maintain its status, but also expand its global reach. Under his leadership, Wheeler Dealers added technical depth, explaining the mechanics of both classic and modern cars. The California studio was upgraded, the crew expanded, and viewership grew across the US, Europe, and Australia. Ant became a symbol of the new generation of technicians who not only knew how to do things but also knew how to tell stories. But the spotlight comes with a shadow. The grueling filming schedule, 10 to 12 hours a day for weeks at a time, has taken a toll on Ant's personal life. In 2019, he took on Ant Anstead, Master Mechanic, a solo project in which he single-handedly rebuilt an Alfa Romeo 158 from scrap metal. It was a show of a lifetime, no co-hosts, no crew, just the man in the car. Viewers loved it because it was the first time they saw the raw, authentic nature of a mechanic, no glitz, no script. He continued to appear in Barrett Jackson Live, World's Greatest Cars, and most notably, Celebrity IAU, Joyride, where he met Renee Zellweger in 2021. But this cycle also tore his life apart. His family in England gradually became a destination rather than a place to live. The time spent with his first 2 children with ex-wife Louise Story was shortened. In an interview, when mentioning missing his daughter's birthday and his son's first performance, Ant choked up, "I always asked myself if I could have it all, and the answer is no." In 2020, Wheeler Dealers decided to return to the UK to produce. Ant was faced with the toughest choice: return home, reunite with his children, and continue his role as host or stay in the US where his son Hudson was too young to be away from his father. He chose to stay, and it was a decision he insists he has never regretted. But it also marked the end of the biggest show of his television career. After leaving Wheeler Dealers, the spotlight remained, but it shifted. The media shifted from talking about his professional life to dissecting his personal life, his relationship with Zellweger, and the legal battles surrounding his children's custody. And didn't argue, didn't explain, just quietly continued working. What he left behind after 3 years were dozens of meticulously restored cars, millions of loyal fans, and a technical television style that focused on knowledge rather than gimmicks. Television had taken Ant Anstead to the top. But it had cost him so much: time, privacy, and the illusion that if you did everything right, you could keep it all. He never complained. But Ant's eyes, where the lights of his workshop once sparkled, were now quieter, more subdued. For with each car that was reborn, a part of his life was left behind. After all, after 2 failed marriages, a bitter legal battle, and a television and business empire that publicly collapsed, Ant Anstead is focused on one thing: holding on to what he has left. For him, that means connecting with his children and stability in his personal life. His first marriage to Louise Story lasted more than 2 decades, from their youth to the time they were parents to Emily and Archie. They married in 2005 and separated in 2017. Around the same time, Ant moved to the US to start a new role with Wheeler Dealers, but the split they never fell out. Ant still calls Louise his best friend and long-distance parenting ally. But the distance combined with the grind of work meant he missed many of his children's growing up milestones. Something he later admitted was a wound that never healed. In contrast to the quiet but solid nature of his first marriage, his relationship with Christina Hall was the shortest and most tumultuous chapter of Ant's personal life. They married in late 2018, had son Hudson in 2019, and divorced less than 2 years later. After their split, the two were embroiled in a custody battle which lasted for months with social media, lawyers, and public pressure wearing them down. It wasn't until 2023 to 2024 that things finally cooled down. "I've learned to put my son before my own feelings," Christina shared in late 2024. They even appeared together in the TV project The Flip Off, a clear sign that they've learned to coexist for their son rather than against each other. If a marriage is built on youth, a relationship caught up in a media whirlwind, then the current love story with Renee Zellweger has a very different color. They met in 2021 on the show Celebrity IOU, Joyride. The relationship developed quickly but discreetly. No red carpets, no intimate photos, no big words on the internet, just short, profound sentences and a presence at the right time. By 2025, Zellweger had moved back in with Ant and Hudson in San Diego. Those close to her say she was the one who pulled the family through its darkest times. When Radford Motors collapsed, when Ant was in court, when he had nothing to prove but a fragile belief in himself, she appeared behind the scenes on Born Mechanic episodes, celebrated Hudson's birthday, and helped handle the press when public opinion became overwhelming. In his 2024 birthday wishes, Ant wrote, "She is the kindest person I know and the only person who knows who I really am." Photos of everyday life show a different Ant Anstead. No longer trying to win, no longer needing to win, just living right. As for work, Ant is no longer the face that covered television as before. He retreated to a small project, Ant Anstead, Born Mechanic, airing from 2024. No big stage, no famous guests, no flashy script. He just renovated a 500-year-old farm in England to serve as a retirement home for his parents. With the money he earned from restoring and selling vintage cars, just like how he started. The show was well received and was renewed for a second season in 2025. In the chaos of life, that is where he found balance. Not with the spotlight, but with his hands and perseverance. After all, Ant Anstead no longer had anything to prove to the world or even to himself. He was no longer the young man chasing recognition, no longer trying to hold on to everything at once. A brilliant career, a polished reputation, a perfect man in the eyes of the public. He had lost more than anyone could see. He had lost the career that had once been his pride, lost the reputation that had been traded for gossip and scandal, and perhaps lost the beautiful illusions that had made him believe that he had to have it all to be complete. Perhaps what remained was what he should have kept from the beginning. No need for flashiness, no need for praise, just need to be real. After all, Ant did not become a perfect man. He became a real man. If you feel something from this journey, about loss, about getting back up or simply trying to do the right thing in an incomprehensible world, please like to show your support. Share this video with someone who needs a little motivation, a little quiet time to reflect. And if you want to continue to follow the real stories, no embellishments, no scripts, hit subscribe because we're not just talking about cars here. We're talking about people. And if you ever feel like you have to start over, leave a comment. You are not alone.